Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to Bank Shot Basketball, where we're always keeping it 100. Today, we're going to take a deep dive on the Houston Rockets and talk a little bit about where things went wrong for them. We're going to get real specific. We're going to go over coaching, GMs, players. We're talking about everything. And we're going to start off with Tillman Fertitta right here and how he ruined the Houston Rockets. Alright, so one of Tillman's first mistakes was coaching. He let go of Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni has been coach of the year. He's had success on teams like the Phoenix Suns. He hasn't always got it done in the playoffs, but he's a good coach. Tillman and D'Antoni had some contract disagreements. They had some philosophy disagreements, and in the end, Tillman decided to let Mike D'Antoni go. Since Mike D'Antoni's left Houston, life has been good for him. He's gone to Brooklyn. He teamed up with his former players Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire, and they're coaching the Brooklyn Nets, who are currently the number 1 seed in the East, and they're a strong contender for the championship. So life is good for Mike D'Antoni, and he's not losing any sleep since leaving Houston. Alright, so next we get to Daryl Morey, and Daryl Morey was a visionary for the Houston Rockets. He made the trade for James Harden. Daryl Morey was the one who got really into analytics. He believed in the three-point shot. He believed in getting to the free throw line and getting those easy buckets. He was another visionary for the Houston Rockets, and once again, he didn't get along with the new owner. So once Mike D'Antoni was out the door, Daryl Morey was next. Daryl Morey was brought into Philadelphia. He was brought there to help clean up that franchise, help guide Elton Brand. He's had success with the Philadelphia 76ers. They have 42 wins, 21 losses, and they're currently number 2 in the East to the Brooklyn Nets. So next we're going to talk about James Harden, who almost was a Philadelphia 76er but ended up on the Brooklyn Nets. But before we get to the Nets, let's talk about his time in Houston. During his time in Houston, James Harden had a lot of success. He was an MVP player. He was always scoring at a high clip and putting up crazy numbers every night. During his time in Houston, he also made playoff runs with CP3, Dwight Howard, and his friend Russell Westbrook from the Oklahoma City Thunder. As I said, they all made deep playoff runs, but they never quite got it done. So after seeing Mike D'Antoni leave, after seeing Daryl Morey leave, the writing is on the wall and James Harden requests a trade. He ends up going to the Brooklyn Nets. He was almost a Philadelphia 76er, but that didn't happen. Oh my God, that is a lot to take in. Your GM's gone, your coach is gone, your star player is gone. I guess it's time to start rebuilding, right? So what do you do next, Tillman? Tillman does one thing right here. He brings in Stephen Silas. Players at the time wanted Tyronn Lue. That did not happen, so he brings in Stephen Silas, who's been assistant coach for years upon years in the NBA. He's also the son of Paul Silas, who's also an NBA coach. And I feel really bad for Stephen Silas. The team is openly tanking right now. It's been a rough transition period for them. The Houston Rockets only have 16 wins and 47 losses, and they're 15th in the West. And they're eyeballing that number 1 draft pick, but we still have more to cover before we get to that. So next we get to John Wall. John Wall is averaging 20.6 points, 6.9 assists, and 3.2 rebounds for the Houston Rockets. That's not bad at all. Considering John Wall has been injured for the last few years, these numbers are pretty good for a player that was kind of considered washed up. Now going forward, I don't know what John Wall's future is. I'm not sure if Houston Rockets keep him around. I'm not sure if they try to turn him into a trade asset. His future is kind of unclear for me. Now one player who has a pretty bright future is Christian Wood. Christian Wood has been balling out. And before he got injured earlier this season, he was looking like most improved player. With the Houston Rockets, he's averaging 21.3 points, he's getting 9.7 boards, and overall, he's looking like a good sign for them. He came from Detroit, he bounced around the league, he was on the Pelicans at one point, but he seems to have found a home here in Houston. As I said, he's found a home here in Houston, and I'll give Tillman credit. This is one thing he's done right so far, is picking up Christian Wood. So now that we've covered Christian Wood, let's move on to Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing pretty good for the Houston Rockets. He's averaging 16.7 points, 6.4 assists, and 3.9 rebounds since coming to Houston. Kevin Porter Jr. was let go from the Cleveland Cavaliers after he had a big incident with the GM. He was upset that they gave a new player his locker. He's had some off-the-court problems, and if you really do your research on Kevin Porter Jr., he's kind of had a hard life, and he's kind of overcome a lot of obstacles, but he's still maturing at the same time. Now, that's a big if. If he can handle all these issues, if he can take care of all this off-the-court drama, if he can handle all that, he could be a good NBA player. He's shown a glimpse of that. So there are a lot of big ifs in Houston, and this is the biggest if of all. If the Houston Rockets get a good draft pick, they could potentially get Cade Cunningham. And Cade Cunningham, he's averaging 20.1 points, 3.5 assists, and 6.2 boards. So he would be a great player. He would be a great player for Tillman to build his whole franchise around. He would be a turning of a page for the Houston Rockets. Alright, so we broke it all down. We covered everything. We talked about the coaches, the GMs, the players, and we talked about an owner who wanted to come in, bring his own people, play by his own rules, and live life the way he wanted to, and the franchise suffered from it. And now they're in a case where they're just going to have to rebuild and start over. This is the perfect example of why ownership is important. You can have the best players, the best staff, you can have the best of the best, but if your owner, who's the number one guy, can't make good decisions, then your franchise is going to suffer from it. Also, as we put a bow on this, can we just talk about the jerseys? The Houston Rockets went from having one of the hardest, most badass, coolest jerseys in the league to some of the most ugliest jerseys I've ever seen. This kind of just summarizes everything for me. Bad decision making 101. Who approved of this? Anyways, I'm out of here. Tell me what you guys think. Do you think I was too hard on the Rockets? Do you think I maybe left something out? If you have any alternate points you want to put in the chat, go for it, man. And once again, this is Bank Shot Basketball, where we really keeping it 100. Hope you guys like the new video. Be sure to subscribe. I'm trying to get up to 2,000 subscribers. It ain't easy. I'm at 20. We got a long way to go, guys. As always, this is Leezy. I'm keeping it 100, and I am out of here.